The silver ship moved through space like a careful bird looking for a safe place to land. Captain Vexstar stood on the bridge and watched the blue planet grow larger through the window. His long fingers pressed buttons on the control panel as his dark eyes studied the readings. For 3 months he had watched this world from far away. The creatures living there seemed harmless enough. They built simple cities. They grew food in neat rows. They walked around on 2 legs just like his own people did. "Captain," said his science officer Kriana from her station, "the scans show the same results as before. These humans appear to be a peaceful species. They have basic technology and show signs of organized society." Vexstar nodded his tall head. His skin shimmered blue-green in the ship's light. "Good, the Galactic Council will be pleased. Another primitive world that needs our protection program." He touched the communication device on his collar. "All crew prepare for first contact procedures. We will land near their gathering place, called Yellowstone National Park." The ship descended through white clouds toward the green landscape below. Trees covered the rolling hills like a soft carpet. Rivers wound through valleys like silver ribbons. To the Zephyrians, it looked like a perfect garden world. Their own planet Zephyr Prime was mostly cities and controlled environments. This wild place seemed both beautiful and strange. Dr. Amanda Clark stood in the temporary command center that the Earth Defense Force had built near Old Faithful. She wore a simple blue uniform with the EDF patch on her shoulder. Her brown hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail. As Earth's lead expert on alien life forms, she had been chosen to represent humanity in these historic first contact talks. The weight of speaking for all humans made her stomach feel tight with nerves. "Any word from NASA about their ship's technology?" "Level?" asked Colonel Pete Harris as he checked the security monitors around the landing site. Amanda shook her head. "Our satellites show they have faster than light travel and energy shields. Beyond that, we can only guess." "What matters is they sent a diplomatic message first instead of just attacking? That's a good sign." Ranger Jake Murphy adjusted his Park Service hat and looked out the window toward the landing coordinates. He had worked in Yellowstone for 15 years. He knew every trail and every animal in this part of the park. Having aliens land in his territory felt weird, but he was ready to do his job. "Ma'am, I've got all the tourist areas cleared for 5 miles around the landing zone. My rangers are keeping people back, but they're all excited to see real aliens." The Zephyrian ship touched down in a meadow with barely a sound. Steam rose from the grass where the landing thrusters had heated the ground. A door opened in the side of the smooth hull. Captain Vexstar stepped out first. He wore a simple gray uniform that looked almost like silk. His movements were graceful like a dancer. Behind him came 4 other crew members walking in a neat line. Amanda took a deep breath and walked toward the aliens. Colonel Harris and Jake Murphy followed a few steps behind her. The morning sun made everything bright and clear. Birds sang in the nearby trees. A light breeze carried the smell of pine needles and wildflowers. "Captain," Vexstar stopped about 10 feet away and made a gesture with his hands that looked like a bow. When he spoke, his voice came from a small device on his chest that translated his words into English. "Greetings, primitive beings of Earth. I am Captain Vexstar of the Zephyrian Exploration Fleet. We come in peace to offer friendship and protection." Amanda smiled and made a small bow of her own. "Welcome to Earth, Captain Vexstar. I am Dr. Amanda Clark, representing the people of this world. We are honored by your visit and look forward to learning about your civilization." The captain's large, dark eyes studied Amanda with curiosity. To him she looked fragile like most primitive species his people had encountered. Her skin had no protective scales or fur. Her body seemed soft and breakable. How did such weak creatures survive on any world? "Dr. Clark, we have observed your people for many cycles. You show promise for advancement. The Galactic Federation has programs to help developing species reach their potential safely." "That sounds wonderful," Amanda replied. "We have much to learn from older civilizations. Perhaps we could show you around our world while we talk. This park showcases some of Earth's natural beauty." Captain Vexstar looked around at the forest and mountains. His sensors detected movement in the trees. Large life forms were scattered throughout the area. The readings made him feel uneasy. Dr. Clark, our instruments show this region contains many large predatory creatures. How do you protect your people from such dangers? Do you have force fields or weapon barriers around your settlements? Amanda looked confused. She glanced at Jake Murphy, who just shrugged his shoulders. I'm sorry, Captain, but what predators are you referring to? This is one of our safest parks. Millions of people visit here every year. The Zephyrian science officer, Kriana, stepped forward with a handheld scanner. Her voice sounded worried through the translator. Captain, the readings show creatures weighing over 300 kilograms moving through the forest. Some exceed 400 kilograms. Their bone density and muscle mass suggest incredible physical power. Jake Murphy realized what they were talking about and almost laughed. Oh, you mean the bears and elk? Yeah, we've got plenty of wildlife here. That's kind of the point of a national park. People come to see the animals. Captain Vexstar's skin changed to a pale yellow color, which Amanda guessed meant fear or alarm. You allow your citizens to enter an area filled with massive predators? Are they in protective vehicles or wearing armor? No, sir, Jake replied. Folks just walk around on the trails. We give them safety briefings about keeping distance from the animals and storing food properly. Most visitors never even see a bear. The animals generally avoid people. The captain looked at his crew with growing concern. Either these humans were lying or they were completely insane. No rational species would voluntarily expose themselves to creatures their scanners were reading as deadly predators. Dr. Clark, I believe there may be some translation error. Our equipment shows beasts in this area capable of killing an adult in seconds. Surely your people do not simply walk among such monsters. Amanda was starting to understand the cultural gap they were dealing with. Captain, perhaps you could show us exactly what your sensors are detecting. Maybe we can clear up this confusion. The animals here are wild, but they're not monsters. They're just part of our ecosystem. The captain activated a holographic display from his scanner. The three-dimensional image showed the surrounding forest with red dots marking large life forms. Dozens of them moved through the trees. Some were as close as a few hundred meters from where they stood. These creatures, Dr. Clark, our sensors classify them as apex predators. How do your people survive in such an environment? Jake pointed to a red dot about 200 meters away. That one's probably old Ben. He's a grizzly bear that likes to fish in the stream over there. Been seeing him in this area for about 5 years now. Gentle as a lamb unless you get between him and his salmon. The Zephyrians stared at Jake as if he had just claimed to keep a volcano as a pet. Their skin colors shifted through various shades of yellow and orange, indicating extreme distress. In their minds, they were standing on a death world populated by creatures from their worst nightmares, while the native inhabitants acted like it was perfectly normal. Dr. Elena Rodriguez tied her hiking boots and checked the wildlife tracking equipment one more time. As Yellowstone's head wildlife biologist, she had been asked to guide the joint human-alien expedition into the forest. The Zephyrians wanted to see these so-called monsters with their own eyes. Elena thought it was funny how scared they seemed of ordinary park animals, but she kept her thoughts to herself. Captain Vexstar emerged from his ship wearing what looked like battle armor made of shiny metal. His crew followed behind him, dressed in similar protective gear. Each alien carried weapons that hummed with energy and scanners that beeped constantly. Commander Zekthal jumped every time a bird chirped in the trees. Lieutenant Kixana kept her weapon raised and ready to fire at the slightest movement. This seems like overkill for a nature walk, Jake Murphy said to Amanda. As they watched the aliens prepare for what they clearly thought was a dangerous mission into hostile territory, Amanda nodded. Their world must be very different from ours. Try to be patient with them. This is probably the most dangerous thing they've ever done. Elena approached the group with her backpack and walking stick. She wore simple khaki pants and a park service shirt. No armor or weapons at all. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Rodriguez, and I'll be your guide today. We're going to take the Bear Creek Trail, which should give us a good chance to see some of the local wildlife. The name of the trail made the Zephyrians huddle together nervously. Commander Zechthel spoke through his translator with a shaky voice. Dr. Rodriguez, this trail is named after the monsters. Are you certain it is safe for biological entities to travel there? The bears aren't monsters, Commander. Elena replied calmly. They're just large mammals that are part of the natural ecosystem here. We'll keep a safe distance and observe them from afar. I've been studying bears for 20 years, and I've never had a serious problem with one. The group began walking along the wooden boardwalk that led into the forest. Elena walked in front, talking about the different types of trees and plants. The humans followed casually behind her, listening and asking questions. The aliens moved in a tight formation with weapons ready and sensors scanning everything around them. The ecosystem here is quite balanced, Elena explained as they walked. We have elk and deer that eat the plants. We have wolves and mountain lions that hunt the elk and deer. And we have bears that eat both plants and meat depending on the season. Each species has its role. Lieutenant Kixana's scanner started beeping more rapidly. Dr. Rodriguez, I am detecting a large life form approximately 150 meters ahead. Mass readings suggest it weighs over 350 kilograms. Threat level is maximum. Elena stopped and pulled out her binoculars. She scanned the area ahead until she spotted what the alien scanner had found. Oh, perfect. There's a grizzly in the meadow up ahead. This is exactly what we wanted to see. The aliens looked at Elena like she had lost her mind. Captain Vexstar activated his emergency beacon. Dr. Rodriguez, you speak as if this is a positive development. Our sensors indicate we are approaching a creature capable of devastating physical damage. Well, yes, bears are strong, Elena said. But they're not monsters. Come on, let's get a closer look. We'll stay on the trail and keep quiet. Bears have excellent hearing, so we don't want to startle him. They walked forward slowly until they reached a viewing area about 100 meters from a large meadow. Elena pointed toward the far side where a massive brown shape moved among the tall grass. The creature was enormous with thick fur and powerful muscles clearly visible even at this distance. It moved with surprising grace for something so large. There he is, Jake whispered. That's Bruno. He's been coming to this meadow for years to feed on the roots and berries. Probably weighs about 800 pounds. The Zephyrians stared in absolute terror. Through their scanners they could see the bear's massive claws digging in the dirt. Each claw was longer than their fingers and looked sharp enough to cut through their ship's hull. The creature's jaw muscles were powerful enough to crush bones. Its teeth were designed for both tearing meat and grinding plants. To them it was a walking nightmare that could destroy their entire crew in seconds. How are we still alive? Commander Zechthel whispered. That creature could reach us in moments if it chose to attack. Why have we not been torn apart already? Elena looked through her binoculars again. Because Bruno is busy eating and we're not bothering him. Bears don't attack unless they feel threatened or you get between them and their food. Right now he probably knows we're here, but he doesn't care as long as we keep our distance. The bear raised its massive head and looked directly at the group. Several aliens made frightened sounds and raised their weapons. The bear stared at them for a few seconds, then went back to digging for roots. To the bear, these strange creatures were just another group of the two-legged things that sometimes appeared in his territory. As long as they stayed away from his food, they were not worth worrying about. It looked at us, Lieutenant Kixana said with terror in her voice. The monster examined us as potential prey and then dismissed us. How is this possible? Jake laughed quietly. Bruno's not interested in eating people. He's got plenty of natural food here. Bears are actually pretty cautious animals. They avoid confrontation when they can. Most bears will run away if they encounter humans. Captain Vexstar was recording everything with his scanner. The data his ship was collecting would change everything the Galactic Federation thought they knew about primitive species. Dr. Rodriguez, your people show no fear in the presence of this apex predator. Our psychological scans indicate you are all completely calm. This should be impossible for any rational life form. Amanda spoke up from behind the group. Captain, I think you need to understand something about human evolution. We didn't develop on a safe world like yours appears to be. Humans evolved alongside predators much more dangerous than bears. Saber-toothed cats with fangs longer than your arm. Cave bears twice the size of Bruno there. Dire wolves that hunted in packs. Giant short-faced bears that stood 12 feet tall. We survived because we learned to understand predators, not just fear them. The aliens absorbed this information with growing amazement. Their own world, Zephyr Prime, had been peaceful for millions of years. The largest predator in their evolutionary history was about the size of a small dog. They had never needed to develop the skills to coexist with dangerous animals. Bruno finished his meal and began walking toward the forest. As he moved, the aliens could see his true size and power. Each step shook the ground slightly. His shoulder muscles rippled under his thick fur. He was a perfectly designed killing machine that could run faster than most vehicles and climb trees. With ease. He's leaving, Elena said. Bears are nomadic. They follow food sources around their territory. Bruno will probably show up somewhere else in the park tomorrow. The bear disappeared into the trees without giving the humans and aliens another glance. The Zephyrians stood in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just witnessed. The humans had not only survived an encounter with what their sensors classified as a deadly monster, but they had done it without weapons or armor or fear. The emergency beacon from Captain Vexstar reached the Zephyrian defense fleet within hours. Admiral Kriolos received the distress signal while his ships patrolled the outer edge of the solar system. The message was marked as Code Red, which meant immediate danger to Zephyrian lives. The Admiral had never seen a Code Red from a peaceful first contact mission. Navigation set course for the third planet immediately, Admiral Kriolos commanded from his flagship bridge. Communications send. Word to the other ships. We have a rescue situation. 3 massive Zephyrian warships changed direction and headed toward Earth at maximum speed. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a small moon. The Admiral believed he was rushing to save his people from some terrible trap the humans had set. In his mind, the peaceful appearance of Earth was clearly a deception to lure unwary visitors into danger. Back on Earth, Dr. Ben Carter sat in the temporary command center reviewing the cultural exchange data. As a xenopsychologist, he was trying to understand why the aliens seemed so frightened of normal Earth wildlife. The readings from their medical scanners showed stress levels that should have killed them by now. Amanda, I think we have a serious problem, Ben said as he studied the alien psychological profiles. Their fear responses are off the charts. What we consider normal they see as nightmare fuel. We need to find a way to calm them down before they do something drastic. Amanda looked up from her own reports. The bear encounter this morning really shook them up. Captain Vexstar keeps asking about mind control devices and how we stay sane while surrounded by monsters. I tried explaining that bears are just animals, but he thinks I'm suffering from some kind of psychological conditioning. The situation got worse when Admiral Kriolos arrived with his battle fleet. The 3 warships appeared in Earth's sky like dark clouds blocking out the sun. Every military base on the planet went to high alert. Fighter jets scrambled from airfields around the world. Naval ships changed course toward the alien vessels. Captain Vexstar received an urgent message from his admiral. Captain Vexstar, report. Your status immediately. Are you under attack? Do you require immediate extraction? Admiral, the situation is worse than we thought, Vexstar replied from his position near the forest. The humans appear to be under some form of mind control. They show no fear of creatures that could tear them apart with ease. They walk among apex predators as if they were harmless pets. Admiral Kriolos studied the tactical displays from his command ship. His sensors showed the same readings that had terrified the landing party. Massive life forms moved freely through the forest below. Some readings showed creatures larger than his own shuttlecraft roaming the landscape without any containment. Captain, this appears to be a trap of some kind, the Admiral concluded. No primitive species could survive in such conditions unless They had hidden technology or were being controlled by a more advanced race. Prepare for immediate evacuation. The crisis escalated when park visitor Lisa Thompson arrived at the visitor center with her 2 children, Bobby age 8 and Jenny age 10. Lisa was a schoolteacher from Denver who brought her kids to Yellowstone every summer. She had no idea that first contact with aliens was happening just a few miles away. "Remember, kids," Lisa said as they walked toward the hiking trails. "What do we do if we see a bear?" "Don't run," Bobby recited the safety rules he had learned on previous visits. "Make yourself look big and back away slowly. And make noise so the bear knows we're human," Jenny added. "Most bears will leave if they know people are around." An alien surveillance drone recorded this conversation and transmitted it back to Admiral Criollos. The Admiral watched in horror as human younglings were being instructed to confront the monsters rather than flee from them. In Zephyrian culture, children were kept in protected environments until they reached maturity. The idea of teaching children to face dangerous predators was absolutely insane. "This confirms our worst fears," Admiral Criollos told his command staff. "The humans are not just tolerating these creatures, they are training their offspring to interact with them." This level of psychological control suggests a very advanced enemy. Dr. Carter tried to open communications with the alien fleet, but their responses made no sense. The aliens kept asking about mind control technology and demanding to know who was really controlling humanity. When Carter explained that no one was controlling humans, the aliens assumed he was lying or delusional. "Admiral," Carter broadcast on all frequencies, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. Humans evolved on this planet alongside these animals. We've learned to coexist with them over thousands of years. They're not monsters to us, they're just part of nature." The Admiral's science officer Talvin analyzed the human communication. "Sir, the human claims their species evolved in the presence of these predators. Our biological scans confirm this is impossible. No intelligent species could develop under such hostile conditions." Meanwhile, Elena Rodriguez was giving a standard educational presentation to a group of tourists about bear behavior. She used slides and charts to explain how bears hunt what they eat and how to stay safe around them. The alien drones recorded every word and transmitted the data to the fleet. "Bears are actually quite predictable," Elena told the audience. "They want food, safety, and space to raise their young. If you don't threaten those things, bears will generally leave you alone. In fact, bear attacks are extremely rare. You're more likely to be struck by lightning than attacked by a bear." Admiral Criollos watched this presentation with growing confusion. The human was describing the monsters as if they were merely inconvenient rather than deadly threats. She spoke about their hunting patterns and territorial behavior like a scientist studying insects. The audience listened calmly and asked questions about hiking safety. "Sir," reported Commander Nexwin from the sensor station, "I'm detecting more large predators approaching the human settlement. Should we intervene?" The Admiral looked at his tactical display. A pack of wolves was moving through the forest toward the visitor center. Each wolf was larger than a Zephyrian, and they moved with the coordinated precision of trained killers. Surely the humans would panic when these pack hunters arrived. Instead, Jake Murphy simply made an announcement over the park radio system. "Attention visitors, we have wolves active in the Lamar Valley area. Please maintain distance and do not attempt to feed or approach the animals. Wolf viewing is best done from vehicles or the designated viewing areas." The tourists actually seemed excited by this news. Many of them grabbed cameras and binoculars and headed toward the valley to see the wolves. Children asked their parents if they could get closer to take pictures. Adults discussed the best spots for wildlife photography, Admiral Criollos realized. He was dealing with something far beyond his understanding. These humans didn't just tolerate living with deadly predators, they seemed to enjoy it. They sought out encounters with creatures that would send his entire fleet fleeing in terror. Either humanity was the most insane species in the galaxy, or they were far more dangerous than they appeared. Billy Morgan was 8 years old and loved exploring new places. His family had driven from Texas to visit Yellowstone for the first time. While his parents set up their campsite, Billy wandered toward a small stream he could hear bubbling nearby. The sound of water over rocks made him curious about what kind of fish might live there. The boy pushed through some bushes and found himself in a small clearing beside the creek. The water was crystal clear and he could see minnows swimming in the shallow pools. Billy knelt down by the water's edge and tried to catch the tiny fish with his hands. He was having so much fun that he didn't notice the large brown shape moving through the trees on the other side of the stream. Mama Bear had brought her 2 cubs to this same creek to drink water and look for fish. She was a 400-pound black bear, with thick dark fur and powerful muscles. The cubs were about 6 months old and still learning how to hunt and fish from their mother. When Mama Bear caught the scent of a human child, her protective instincts kicked in immediately. The bear stood up on her back legs to get a better view of the potential threat. Standing upright, she was over 7 feet tall and looked like a furry giant. She could see the small human near the water where her cubs needed to drink. The child was between her and her babies, which triggered every protective response in her brain. Mama Bear dropped back to all fours and let out a loud roar that echoed through the forest. The sound was deep and thunderous like a truck engine, mixed with a lion's growl. She was warning the intruder to stay away from her cubs and her territory. To her, this was standard bear communication, but to anyone listening it sounded like the voice of a nightmare creature. Billy heard the roar and looked up to see the enormous bear standing on the other side of the creek. His heart started beating faster, but he remembered what his dad had told him about wild animals. Don't run because that makes you look like prey. Don't scream because that might make the animal more aggressive. Stay calm and back away slowly. The alien surveillance drones detected the confrontation immediately. Admiral Krios watched his monitor screen as a small human child faced down a creature that could kill a full-grown Zephyrian with one swipe of its claws. The Admiral expected to witness the brutal death of the young human, but what he saw instead made no sense at all. Billy slowly stood up, without making any sudden movements. He made himself look as big as possible by raising his arms above his head. He spoke to the bear in a calm, steady voice, even though his hands were shaking a little. "Hey, bear, I'm sorry I didn't see you there. I'm going to back away now so you and your babies can have the creek." Ranger Kate Williams had been patrolling the area when she heard the bear's roar. She grabbed her radio and called for backup, then hurried toward the sound. Kate had dealt with bear encounters hundreds of times during her career. Most situations could be resolved peacefully if everyone stayed calm and followed proper procedures. Kate arrived at the clearing just as Billy was backing away from the creek. She could see Mama Bear watching the boy carefully while her cubs stayed hidden in the bush behind her. The bear was tense and ready to defend her babies, but she hadn't charged yet, which meant the situation could still be resolved safely. "Billy," Kate called softly without moving too quickly. "You're doing great. Just keep backing toward my voice. Don't turn around and don't run. The mama bear just wants to protect her cubs." Admiral Krios watched this scene unfold with complete bewilderment. A small human child was facing a deadly predator while an adult human approached the danger zone instead of fleeing. Both humans seemed remarkably calm, considering they were about to be torn apart by a creature that outweighed them by hundreds of pounds. Billy continued backing away step by step. He kept his eyes on the bear while slowly moving toward Kate's voice. Mama Bear watched him go, but didn't follow. Once the child was far enough away from her cubs, she began to relax. She sniffed the air to make sure no other threats were nearby, then called to her babies with a soft huffing sound. Kate reached Billy and gently put her hand on his shoulder. "You did perfect, Billy. That was exactly the right thing to do." The Mama Bear was just protecting her cubs, which is what any good mother would do. The 2 cubs emerged from the bush and ran to their mother. They were adorable balls of black fur with big dark eyes and clumsy movements. Mama Bear nuzzled them gently, then led them down to the creek to drink. She kept one eye on the humans, but seemed satisfied that they were no longer a threat. "Can we watch them drink water?" Billy asked quietly. "They're really beautiful." Kate smiled and nodded. We can watch from here, but we need to give them plenty of space. Bears are wonderful animals, but they're still wild, and we need to respect that. The alien observation team recorded every detail of this encounter. Captain Vexstar transmitted the data to Admiral Kriolos with growing confusion. Admiral, the small human successfully negotiated with the apex predator. Both species withdrew from conflict without violence. Our psychological models cannot explain this behavior. Admiral Kriolos studied the recordings from multiple camera angles. The child had faced down a creature that could have killed him instantly. The adult human had approached the danger to help instead of calling for weapons or barriers. Most incredibly, the bears had shown restraint and intelligence in their response to the humans. Commander Talvin ran a full analysis of human evolutionary history, the Admiral ordered. I want to know what kind of world produces beings that can peacefully coexist with such dangerous predators. The science officer began pulling data from Earth's fossil records and archaeological sites. What he found changed everything the Zephyrians thought they knew about primitive species. Human ancestors had not just survived alongside predators, they had actively hunted creatures much larger and more dangerous than the bears in Yellowstone. Admiral, Talvin reported with amazement in his voice. Human ancestors regularly hunted mammoths that weighed over 6 tons. They faced saber-toothed cats with fangs longer than our arms. They survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and mass extinctions. This species didn't just adapt to a dangerous world, they conquered it. Admiral Kriolos began to understand that his first assessment had been completely wrong. The humans weren't primitive beings in need of protection. They weren't mind-controlled victims of some advanced species. They were the apex predators of their world who had learned to coexist peacefully with other dangerous creatures through thousands of years of evolution and experience. Back at the creek, Mama Bear and her cubs finished drinking and wandered back into the forest. Billy watched them go with wonder in his eyes. Kate walked him back to his worried parents who had been searching for him when they heard the bear roar. The crisis was over and everyone was safe. That was amazing, Billy told his parents. I got to see a real wild bear family up close. Ranger. Kate says I did everything right and the bears were just being good parents. Admiral Kriolos realized his entire fleet had been preparing to rescue the wrong species. 3 weeks after the bear encounter, news of the human Zephyrian contact had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Federation Council chamber on Centauri Prime buzzed with excited conversation as representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered for an emergency session. Species that had never paid attention to primitive worlds suddenly wanted to know everything about the planet called Earth. Ambassador Ray Johnson stood in the preparation room adjusting his formal Earth diplomatic uniform. As humanity's first representative to the Galactic Federation, he carried the hopes and fears of his entire species. The blue and gold uniform felt strange after years of wearing simple business suits, but it was important to look official for this historic moment. The Council is ready for you, Ambassador, said Protocol Officer Zender, a tall gray alien with 4 arms and kind silver eyes. I must warn you that many species are quite frightened by the reports from your world. Some council members believe humans should be classified as a dangerous species. Ray nodded calmly. After spending 3 weeks with Captain Vexstar and his crew, he understood how other aliens might view humanity. I'll do my best to explain our perspective, Officer Zender. Sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. The massive council chamber held representatives from over 400 different worlds. Some aliens looked almost human, while others were so strange Ray couldn't figure out which end was their head. The chamber fell silent as Ray walked to the central speaking platform. Hundreds of eyes, tentacles, and sensors focused on Earth's first. Galactic Ambassador High Chancellor Mordith of the Altarian Empire called the session to order. Her voice echoed through universal translators in dozens of languages. We gather today to discuss the application of the species known as humans for protection under the Galactic Federation. Recent reports suggest this species may pose unique challenges to standard integration protocols. A representative from the Crystalline Collective raised what appeared to be an arm made of living diamond. High Chancellor, we have reviewed the data from Zephyrian First Contact teams. This human species coexists with predatory creatures that would devastate most civilized worlds. How can we offer protection to beings who voluntarily live alongside such monsters? Ray stepped forward to the speaking microphone. His voice carried clearly through the vast chamber. Honored representatives, I believe there has been a fundamental misunderstanding about Earth and humanity. We don't need protection from the animals on our world because we are not their prey. We are their neighbors. A wave of confused murmurs rippled through the assembly. The representative from Pacifica 9, a water world where the largest predator was similar to Earth's goldfish, spoke next. Ambassador Johnson, our scientists have analyzed the creatures you call bears and wolves. These beings possess physical capabilities that exceed most known predator species. How do you explain human survival in such conditions? Ray smiled as he remembered his briefing sessions with the xenobiology team. Representative, the answer is simple. Humans didn't just survive alongside these predators, we evolved alongside them. For millions of years, our ancestors faced much more dangerous creatures than anything alive today. We learned to use tools, make firework together, and think our way out of problems that claws and teeth couldn't solve. Captain Vexstar, who had been invited to speak as a witness, stepped forward. His time on Earth had changed his entire perspective on what it meant to be an advanced species. High Chancellor, I initially believed the humans were primitive beings in need of our protection. After observing them for 3 weeks, I now realize we had the situation completely backward. Explain, Captain, Chancellor Mordith commanded. Vexstar activated a holographic display showing footage from Yellowstone. The images showed humans hiking, camping, and photographing wildlife while massive bears and wolves moved freely through the same areas. These humans don't just tolerate dangerous predators, they seek them out. They study them, photograph them, and teach their children how to coexist with them. This level of courage and intelligence suggests they are far more advanced than we originally thought. A representative from the insectoid hive worlds clicked and buzzed rapidly through their translator. Captain Vexstar, are you suggesting that living with predators is a sign of advancement rather than primitiveness? Exactly, Vexstar replied. My people evolved on a world with no serious threats. We developed technology to avoid problems rather than face them. Humans developed technology while actively managing an entire planet full of dangerous creatures. They didn't just survive their world, they became its dominant species. Ray saw an opportunity to drive the point home. Representatives, I'd like to share some historical context. When human ancestors first developed agriculture, we had to defend our crops from creatures that could kill dozens of people. When we built cities, we had to design them to keep out predators that could break through stone walls. Every advance in human civilization happened while we shared the planet with animals that most of you would consider unstoppable monsters. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives tried to process this information. The concept of developing civilization while under constant threat from megapredators was beyond the experience of most galactic species. Their worlds had either been naturally peaceful or had been pacified by earlier advanced civilizations. Admiral Krielos, who had also been invited to testify, stood up from the Zephyrian delegation. High Chancellor, I came to Earth prepared to rescue what I thought was a helpless primitive species. Instead, I discovered that humans might be the most formidable biological entities in this sector of the galaxy. They don't fear apex predators, because they are apex predators. This statement caused an immediate uproar. Several smaller species activated personal shields and moved away from Ray's position. The representative from the gentle folk of Harmony 7 actually fainted at the suggestion that humans might be predators themselves. Ray raised his hands to calm the assembly. Please don't be alarmed. Humans are predators, but we're also social, cooperative beings. We learned long ago that working together is more effective than fighting each other. That's why we're here seeking friendship with the galactic community rather than trying to conquer it. Chancellor Mordith called for order, and the chamber gradually quieted down. Ambassador Johnson, this puts your species application in an entirely different context. The Federation's protection program is designed for peaceful species that need shelter from galactic dangers. What you're describing suggests humans might be better suited to provide protection rather than receive. That's an interesting perspective, Chancellor, Ray replied. We certainly don't need protection from bears or wolves. But we could use help with things that actually threaten us, like diseases, asteroid impacts, and climate change. In return, we'd be happy to help other species deal with problems that require the kind of resilience humans developed on Earth. The Council began a series of rapid consultations as representatives discussed this unexpected turn of events. What had started as a routine protection application had become something much more significant. Several military-focused species were already sending messages about potential security partnerships. Jake Murphy would have laughed if he could have seen the galactic political storm his casual comments about Old Ben the grizzly bear had created. He was currently giving his regular evening bear safety presentation to a group of new campers who had no idea their park ranger had accidentally helped humanity become the galaxy's newest security consultants. Remember, folks, Jake told his audience as he did every night. Bears are just neighbors with different habits than ours. Show them respect, give them space, and everyone gets along fine. The same rules apply whether you're dealing with wildlife or meeting new people from other places. The Galactic Federation would spend the next several months completely restructuring their first contact protocols based on what they learned from humanity's application. Earth didn't need protection from monsters because humans had already figured out how to live with them thousands of years ago.